Hey everyone, Jonathan Bailor back with another bonus Smarter Science of Slim podcast. I got to tell you, my face is a little bit sore right now. I know that sounds odd, but I'm already smiling excessively just pre-chatting with today's guest on the phone. She is an individual who is just a ray of light when it comes to helping people to be inspired and just to pursue a happier, healthier life. She's all over the media. She's on The Chew. She's on the Dr. Oz Show. She's writing books. She's writing the book Relish. She's smiling, and she's here with us. Daphne Oz, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Well, Daphne, let's just start right from the get-go. You wrote a book called The Dorm Room Diet. And I'm curious because so often we hear college is this very potentially unhealthy environment. How did you combat that when you were at university?
Well, it's funny. I reached 180 pounds when I was 17. So I really saw college, and that was my junior year or senior year of high school. And I really saw college as the beginning of my adult life, the beginning of this opportunity to experience total freedom. But with that freedom came responsibility. And for me, that responsibility was to harness my health and to get my health back on track, to be able to live my optimum life, to not feel held back or restrained by anything, let alone my own insecurities about my weight. So I vowed that college was going to be this incredibly fun, full experience. I wanted to, have the late night pizza. I wanted to go out and get beers. I wanted to do all that stuff. But I also wanted to lose 30 pounds. And the way I was able to reconcile those two desires was to develop the healthy lifestyle plan that I talk about in Dorm Room Diet, which is basically kill the fad diets. End those now, because I tried every single one of them except Atkins when I was in high school. And you know what? They all work for about 2 weeks. And then as soon as you go back to eating like a normal human being, all the weight plus some comes right back. And more importantly than that, for me, it really established a very unhealthy relationship with food. I grew up with my mom being Irish Italian. She's a great cook, and I would come home from school, we'd pick out a great recipe, we'd go food shopping together, we'd make up dinner, we'd be snacking the whole time, and then I'd sit down and eat a giant meal for dinner, and I just packed on the weight because I looked to food for love and bonding and connection with my family. And then when I was doing all the fad diets, I looked at food as this taboo item that had just had so much unnecessary power and control in my life. So when I was in college and figuring out this healthy lifestyle plan, I vowed never to go on a fad diet again, because I never wanted food to be in the power position. I wanted to be in the driver's seat, and I wanted to be the one making all the calls and really figuring out, this is going to be a smart place to indulge. This is going to be where calories count. And I really think about it as indulging for a good cause. So, I skipped the stale store-bought brownies that so many of us are tempted by at the office, or, certainly they were all around me in the dorm, in favor of being able to totally guilt-free enjoy delicious dessert at a beautiful restaurant with my husband, or, a birthday cake with my friends, whatever it is, where the calories are actually going to mean something, and the experience of indulging in food like that is actually going to help me feel like I've experienced my life more fully, as opposed to just eating something because it's proximity. And I think what's neat about the way that I have come to think about health is it's very un-black and white. Like, I think that, we certainly, people like me who struggle with their weight will relate to this. We're taught to think that either you're healthy or you're unhealthy. Either you're being good today or you're being bad today. And I think that what I had to break the cycle of was feeling like everything's all one or all nothing. Because truthfully, what I want is healthy food that still feels indulgent, that still feels decadent. Because if it's not delicious, I don't care if it's healthy, because I'm not going to stick with it long term. I need things that are going to be easy, convenient, and affordable, and delicious. And for the way that I balance that is, if I can find an easy way to swap something into a meal or change a certain ingredient that will provide a lot more nutrition to my meal, that's a great thing. And certainly there are days where I try to eat cleaner because maybe I've had a big week. Like, I'm down in Texas this weekend, and I fully intend to go out and enjoy some delicious barbecue. I went to breakfast this morning and had an awesome blackberry muffin and migas eggs, and I'm totally getting in there and indulging, which means that on Monday and Tuesday and maybe even Wednesday, I'm going to try to eat a bit cleaner, cut out the simple carbs, steer clear of some of the white sugar and really try to get my body back on track. And that, for me, is a much more productive way of not only living my life, but enjoying my life, which is the whole goal.
Daphne, I heard two things in there that really, really resonated with me. I want to highlight. The first is you talked about the distinction between a conscious indulgence and an unconscious indulgence.
Yes.
And I really think that unconscious indulgence, that's the insidious thing, right? It's that my mom used to always tell me, like, if you're going to do this, make sure it's worth it, right?
Yes, because you never feel, think about it, you never feel guilty if you're out to dinner and you get this gorgeous piece of, whatever your favorite dessert is. Like, for me, if I can find a great banana pudding or a great homemade donut, like something that really just sings when it's on your plate, you don't feel guilty about that. You have a bite or two, you feel satisfied, you enjoy that experience. You feel guilty about the stale store-bought Entenmann's brownies. You feel guilty about the stuff that you could have any day of the week that you indulge in totally, like you say, unconsciously, purely because it's there or because people around you are eating it, because you don't know how to set yourself up for success or get out of your own way or just remove the temptation. And those are the places where I really see limiting my exposure to them actually was the first step, because, sometimes your willpower is at a low, and the only way to make sure that you don't cave to temptation is just to get out of Dodge, and then beyond that, just to realize, giving yourself, even just, I do this thing where I count to my age before I eat, which for me is, it gives me 27 seconds to make a conscious choice of this is something I want or this is something I actually can do without.
The other thing that I think is so profoundly beneficial, because this seems really, really simple, but just about everyone I've ever worked with who does this, who just says, I'm not going to give up indulgences, but I'm only going to indulge when it's good stuff, is that good stuff generally does not have the really, really, for lack of better terms, toxic artificial substances that cause the brain inflammation and gut bacteria mutations that we are only starting to understand. So even if you have this, you're at a high-end restaurant and you have this beautiful dessert that was made with eggs and cream and high-end cocoa and not with reformulated, rebigulated, dextrohydrose, blah. So it's even better on that level too, right?
Absolutely. Well, look, your body is so smart. When I was doing research for Dormant Diet and was reading on sort of the nutritional papers that were coming out at the time, one of the things that stuck with me was this research that was coming out about why diet soda can be so causing so much inflammation, but more importantly, can be so toxic, especially if you're trying to lose weight. Your body is smart. Your body knows that if it's craving energy, if it's craving nutrition, it knows exactly the kind of sort of nutritional models it needs to sort of complete its sort of nutritional profile for the day. And if you have something sweet coming into your mouth, like soda, there are no calories that are actually packed with any nutrition that your body expects to get when it has sugar coming into the body. So your body's sitting there thinking, well, when is the nutrition coming? When is the nutrition coming? All these calories are coming in with no nutrition in them, but you still need to keep eating because I know I'm supposed to be getting something that's not coming in with this soda. And it actually tricks your brain into telling you to eat more, because your body's sort of like hunting for all this nutritional value that it doesn't get in something like a diet soda. And the same is true with artificial desserts versus ones that are made, like you say, with really high quality ingredients, basic ingredients that your body understands how to metabolize and that are rich with the nutrition your body expects to get when it tastes those things. You will be satisfied with 1, 2, 3 bites of something really, really made from pure ingredients versus something made from artificial ingredients where your body knows it should be getting value nutrition, but because most of what you're getting is chemical or man-made or totally artificial, it tells you to keep eating because the nutrition's not coming in, which I think is just such a fascinating way of thinking about indulging for a good cause and indulging in the right way. Because if you're going to do it right, you can do it in a way that, on the one hand, I think is actually way better. It's such a win-win because you're getting it so much more delicious and so much more satisfying. But it's also something your body really understands how to metabolize, how to digest, how to break it down, what to do with it once it's in your gut. And I love, I watch your video and I love what you talk about with the way that your brain can, the sort of gut brain, and the way that what you eat directs the whole flow of nutrition and metabolism in your body. And I think that you don't need to sacrifice the efficiency of your body and your body's ability to burn fat and to stay healthy and to reach its proper equilibrium weight by indulging in desserts. You just need to indulge in the right dessert.
And it's so critical, Daphne. And it seems obvious on the surface, but when it's Sunday night and we're maybe feeling a little bit anxious about the week, it seems like sometimes what seems simple and what seems common sense leaves. But what we're talking about here, correct me if I'm wrong, is that your body is smart. And the bottom line is that if you're going to eat something, the reason you're eating it is to be satisfied. And if what you're eating will not satisfy you, and to be very clear, there are edible products which their whole marketing play is that they won't satisfy you. Like once you pop, you can't stop. There's always room for X. Light beer, the whole point of light beer is so that it does not satisfy you. So all we're saying is if you're going to indulge with the intention of feeling satisfied, indulge using actual food that will actually satisfy you.
100%, 100%. And that is why I cook with coconut oil, but I also cook with butter. I don't cook with margarine or with some kind of, processed whipped oil substitute that's, like you say, not going to satisfy you, not going to fill you up, going to keep you feeling light throughout the day. My goal is not to feel like I'm hungry all throughout the day. I want to feel satisfied at points, not stuffed, not, fit to burst and needing to lie down, but at a point where I feel really satisfied and like the thing that I think takes a little time and a little skill, but is our most basic skill, and we just need to tune into it, is learning to listen to our bodies. Our bodies are smart. When you're craving something, chances are your body's, it's not, unless you're, addicted to sugar, addicted to caffeine, chances are your body actually needs something. So listen to that and listen to when it's satisfied. Part of the issue is we don't pay attention to what our body eats. We eat almost around all the things that our body actually is craving. So we're never properly satisfied. And then once we are eating, we're eating so ravenously and we're so out of touch with the enjoyment of a meal and the creation of that meal that we don't actually recognize when we're satisfied, and we go so far beyond that point, and then you realize 20 minutes too late that you've overeaten and you feel sick. I mean, it's so. What I'm so jealous of is the sort of cultures around the world where there's a premium put on the time that we are given to spend eating, and there's a premium put on having a relaxing environment around the eating experience, because I think that mindset of mindfulness, conscious choices, and really indulging in quality as often as you can, home-cooked food, that's where the secret to health lies in my mind.
And isn't that an exciting world to live in? Because what I heard you just say is the secret, in quotations, to long-term satisfaction, having a body that you're happy with, having health that empowers you, is to truly, the key word I think is to truly enjoy food. Actually, there's two key words, truly and food, because it seems like what we often do is don't really enjoy non-food.
Right. Well, I think, look, I'm a real person and I have real demands on my time, and there are moments when the only option is to go and get some convenient food item. I don't even call it proper food because a lot of the time it's so far processed and so far gone and so man-made / machine ingested before I even get to it that it really can't be called actual food. But, that is your life, and your life will throw you curveballs, and your life will get complicated. And occasionally, when you haven't either planned ahead or set yourself up for success or crowded out the bad options, as are always sort of the rules that I try to live by to make sure that I don't fall into this pitfall, you're left with no other option. And my goal is to, as frequently as possible, make my eating experience around real food, around things that look like they did when they came out of the ground, around things that my body for 10,000 years has been evolving to understand how to eat. Because what freaks me out is that so much of our food source has so markedly changed over the last 50 years that our evolution as humans can't keep up. I mean, the not only the quantities and the quality of food, but even the types of food that we're eating now is so dramatically different than the kinds of foods and the way that our ancestors ate that you can't blame your body for, and all of our bodies, for reacting the way that it does, where we have inflammation, we have response within the body that's not normal digestive response, we have tons of allergies, we have, basic things you not even associate with your diet, things like constant headaches or nausea or fatigue or bloatedness or congestion. I mean, all of these things are intimately linked to the nutrition that you take into your body every day. Someone said to me, every bite you take becomes part of your biochemistry. And I think when you are forced to realize that, every bite of chips that you take, every bite of hot dog that you take, every bite of something that you know is not good nutritionally for you, is not fueling your body properly, starts to weigh on you like, wow, this is a choice that I have to make, because this bite will become part of what my body is, essentially. And I'm not a stickler. I don't live by strict rules. I am totally flexible with myself, because at the end of the day, I want to be happy, and I don't want to be neurotic. I don't want to have a big struggle. I don't want what I'm eating every moment of every day to be the only focus of my life, because I have a lot of other really cool, interesting things going on. But I think it's important that at some level we realize that how we see ourselves is how other people will see us. So build that self-confidence for yourself, build that self-love for yourself, and that's what you'll project. But then beyond that, how we feed ourselves is how we'll function in the rest of our lives. And I think for that reason alone, food and good eating and sort of looking at food as the medicine of the people and the way that you can treat your health and preserve your health long term, it should be our number one priority and our number one focus in terms of creating health long term for our society.
Daphne, I very much appreciate that you brought up this food permeating every aspect of our life, and also not living a life of neuroticism around food. But as someone who has been on both sides of the story, and what I mean there is, you described how you were very unhappy with how you felt and with your own appearance back when you were 17, and now you seem quite delighted with that. And certainly now you are taking more steps and spending more time ensuring that you are putting nutritious foods into your body. Oftentimes, people seem to think that they can either choose to enjoy food or choose to enjoy their health and how they look. But can't you have both? Because it seems like that's really what we're talking about. Just put a little bit of time into it, and then you will be happy at a much deeper level than the ephemeral happiness that might come if you're not on guard at all by what goes in your body.
You can absolutely have both. I mean, that's the premise of my new book, Relish. It's called Relish, an Adventure in Food, Style, and Everyday Fun. And what I did was address exactly that need, which is people are trained to think, we all are, we've been brainwashed to think, that healthy eating means bland, flavorless deprivation, taking away all the things that we love, a joyless life. And that has never been part of the way that I've thought about health. And what I try to do with this book was convince people and show people with very manageable, easy, practical, fun tips and tricks that we can all use in our everyday lives how to marry healthy food with decadent indulgence. Because that, for me, is the nexus of, look, in the book I use maple syrup, I use honey, and in very small quantities I use even granulated sugar, I use butter, I use eggs, I use whole milk and cream. I use things like that sparingly throughout recipes, mostly as a way to complete recipes, to give that mouth feel of indulgence, that sensation and experience of decadence. But I don't base the whole recipe around them, and I look for ways to bolster the nutritional content of the recipe in other ways. So whether it's making pancakes that include whole wheat flour and ground flaxseed, along with other items that make it feel like a regular pancake and totally indulgent and decadent with banana and pecans and great. I'd make a bourbon maple syrup that goes alongside that. I think just takes it over the top. Things like that you would never look at and say, oh, wow, this is a healthy recipe, quote unquote. But it's a way that you can make a recipe recognize, enjoy, love, indulge with, quite a bit healthier for you, so that you're committing both to enjoying your life and to fueling your body the right way. I think the big problem is that we spend so much time trying to do one or the other, and we haven't been able to figure out the right way to balance both. And I think the best way to balance is to see, what you do most of the time is what really matters. So, yeah, a lot of the time I am eating beautiful, sauteed greens and big salads and lean proteins and non-starchy vegetables and complex carbohydrates. But the times that I choose to actually do just what my mouth wants, I'm not going to go sort of the low-fat, low-cal, sugarless version of the thing. I'm going to go for the gold, and I want it to really count for something. So that's how I try to look at balancing my desire for health by making it a priority and not an obsession. And I think that was a huge turning point for me. And when I give talks on the subject or I talk about relish, that is something that sticks with people because we don't even realize it's become this fascination, it's become this obsession for us where every minute of the day it feels like is being dominated by this, what am I eating for breakfast? What have I already eaten today? What have I eaten yesterday? What am I eating for dinner tonight? We're inundated with advertising and even, like we were talking about earlier, the idea of foods that won't really satisfy, that will, that frankly have been engineered to work with our biological needs to tell us to keep eating. Like one of the research items on Doritos, for instance, was talking about the way that the flavoring of the chip actually tastes better after it's left your mouth than it did while you were chewing it. So the memory of the chip is better than it is when you're eating it, which means you keep eating it to get to the memory, which is just, it's so interesting. I mean, these companies are so smart and have invested so much money in developing products that really, you almost can't resist because the product is so smart in the way that it plays to our biological needs for sugar, for salt, for fat. So the idea being, get rid of those items. Don't fall prey to items that are going to trick you into overeating, and instead go back to the real deal and make it a priority and not an obsession.
Daphne, it becomes very, very, let's say, interesting to be kind as we start to see more and more how quote unquote edible products are moving away from, like it's always, calories are evil. So let's not have any calories and let's have all these chemicals that cause addiction. Truly, I mean, that's what we're talking about. They cause addiction. So we're talking about something that doesn't have calories and causes an addiction. What do we call those in other areas of life? It doesn't have calories and it causes an addiction.
Cigarettes.
Or just drugs in general, right? And I mean, it's something that is causing an addiction and is not nourishing the body. And then we take a step back and we say, oh my gosh, like we're selling these in schools. We're advertising these to children. How do you think we turn the tide against that? Because certainly that seems just insidious. Like that seems inexcusable. What do we do about that?
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest, or at least the most imminent fight of our generation is going to be food transparency. It is going to be the fight not only to make healthy living affordable and convenient for the vast majority of our population, but also, to make it the obvious choice, to make it the easy choice. Because what we've done is essentially mortgaged our health in the future by making unhealthy, quote-unquote, food-like products, to use Michael Pollan's language, the only choice in many places, and certainly the most attractive choice when it comes to kids, when it comes to people on the run, when it comes to, what you're sort of going to grab and go with. And I think what we need to commit to is understanding that we've been played. I mean, we really have been had by an industry that is creating foods in the lab that is that really understands, like we were talking about before, our biology, our biological needs, and the ways that they can create food-like products that play to those needs, manipulate those needs, outsmart our own bodies in the way that they are trying, the way that our bodies would typically tell us we've had enough, and these foods are tricking it into not telling us that or not signaling that in our brains. And I think that fight, unfortunately, has been taken to our kids at this point because they're in vending machines on school campuses. If you look at school lunch, it's a pathetic display of the lowest form of pandering to big business in terms of literally tomato sauce on pizza is considered a serving of vegetable. I mean, not to mention tomatoes are fruit. So it's the whole thing is so warped and crazy. What I think will eventually, and I mean, we're already seeing it happen. People vote with their wallets 3 times a day. And the more educated consumers we have who know that you're either going to spend your dollar at the checkout counter, at the cafeteria, supermarket, wherever, or on the operating table 20 years from now when your body's suffering the abuse of 20 years of poor eating. And the more we have educated consumers who recognize that dichotomy and who choose to preserve their health by making an investment in smart, healthy eating now, the less capable, but also the more incentivized big business will be to actually provide healthy food. The less capable they will be of selling unhealthy food, I should say, and the more incentivized they will be to provide affordable, accessible, healthy food once we have a large population of people demanding that. I think the issue right now is that we have somehow made healthy eating feel like it's an elite activity, and it's not. It's the most democratic and egalitarian way of achieving health that we know of, because frankly, it's something we all have to do. We all eat 3 times a day. We all have to get food into our bodies. And that should be our first line of defense in long-term health. I think, growing up in a really medical family, I have doctors left, right, and center of me, and so I took for granted the fact that I had a lot of information on hand, and I had a lot of, sort of medical know-how to really bounce ideas off of and to use when I was looking to lose weight. But the biggest thing they would always say is that food is where medicine starts, and what we see as the healthcare crisis, and what we see as people arriving on with diabetes and with heart failure and all these other sort of lifestyle related diseases earlier and early on in their lives, all of that links back to our food source being one that doesn't make it easy for people to make the healthy choice. And I think that process is going to be the fight that our generation wages and hopefully wins.
And I'm encouraged, Daphne. I'm encouraged not only by people like you out there fighting that on the front lines, but also because I think at our very core, people often highlight America as the country that's struggling the most with this. But America is also a country that prizes freedom. Like, we are the land of the free and the home of the brave. And what we're talking about here, I think, is really taking back our freedom, because a lot of our choices about what we're putting into our body, in many ways, we've lost a little bit of freedom there. Like, what I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, giving my child a snack of Go-Gurt and apple juice, I'm giving them a healthy snack. That is a healthy snack, because the way it's presented to them, and they're busy and they don't have a PhD in nutrition, is that this is a healthy snack. And I feel like that's almost like our freedom has been taken from us, like the freedom to have informed consent. I mean, you're from a medical family. Informed consent is so important, but if we're not informed, if we just go by default, if we don't have that freedom to make an educated choice, if our education is coming from the back of a cereal box, as my initial education was, well, then we're not really set up for success. So I think it's wonderful that we are doing all that we can to put the power back into the people, rather than having our choices dictated by monetary and corporate interests. But I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, I honestly couldn't agree with you more. I think that you're absolutely right. That it's not a choice anymore, because look, real people, you're working with a limited budget, with limited time, with limited ability to run around to 8 different grocery stores to try to find the best deals on all the different items you want to have in your family's pantry. And the choice isn't there anymore, because your choice has basically already been made for you if you have any kinds of economic concerns based on how much things cost. And if you look around the supermarket, the really sad reality is, things that spent 20 hours being pre-digested by a machine and showing up to you in a neatly wrapped little box that looks nothing like what they did when they came out of the ground, costs less than a potato, or an apple. I mean, the fact that you can get a bag of chips for the same price as you can get an apple, when the bag of chips has gone through so much mechanical processing and so much manual labor and so much, transport and everything else that went into creating that bag. and then you'll have to pay the same amount for something that was plucked off the tree perfectly, exactly the way it was supposed to be presented to you, is mind-boggling. And I think that that's something that we can all get behind, because you're absolutely right. It's distinctly American. It makes us powerful again. And my whole message is about take power back. Like rebalance and recalibrate the power of the eater, you, versus the E10, which is your food. And I want you to be in the driver's seat, because that's where you're going to make the best choices. That's where you're going to be the one in control. That's where you're going to be the happiest. That's where you're going to feel the most productive. And the best way we can do that is by, like I say, voting with your wallet 3 times a day. Don't buy the processed junk when you can avoid it. Don't buy the thing that incentivizes producers to keep churning it out. The only reason they do is because they know that's what we're going to buy. Be the rebel that you want to be and actually choose health. Choose something that's good for you. And the more of us that do that, the more monetary incentive there will be for big corporations to actually make that their priority, healthy food that preserves our integrity long term.
Hear, 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 hear. I'm applauding. Well, Daphne, certainly you hit the nail on the head there, and I'm sure you continue with the insight and the wisdom in your newest book, which is called Relish. Folks, check it out. And obviously, of course, you can see Daphne on the Chew. Daphne, what's next for you?
Oh gosh, well, Relish is really much more of a lifestyle book. There are about 80 recipes, and there's some of my all-time favorite fail-proof, healthy but indulgent recipes. But I took this attitude about food and about eating, which is how do I balance what's convenient, what's affordable, what's practical, what's healthy, with what's beautiful and delicious and fun. And I applied that metric to my food first and foremost, but then to the style of my life, in my wardrobe and in my home, to my relationships, my family, my friends, my husband, and then to my career and my playtime, really to establish this whole fill your life with fun idea that I had that was what Relish was about. It was this, maximize every moment, fill every moment with fun, enjoy this time, and really make sure that you're using it to its full potential, because what I didn't want to keep doing was living a placeholder life, biding time, waiting for real life to kick in. I really wanted to seize this moment. And I think next I'm going to do a proper cookbook, a proper sort of like, this is how real people eat. This is what we can actually get behind and enjoy and sort of kick back and love our food and make sure our food is loving us right back.
Daphne, that I love the global paradigm, not just for food, which you reflect, which is take in so much good. This isn't just for food, right? It's for everything. Take in so much good that you don't have any room for the bad. And that's really all we're talking about here, right?
No, I love that.
And Daphne, I'm so excited to see what you do next. Please keep spreading the good word. And folks, again, if you want to learn more about her right away, you can at her website, which I will spell for you, because if you're like me and you misspell Daphne every time you type it into a search engine, here's some help for you. It's Daphne. There's no I in it. DaphneOz.com. Daphne, thank you again for joining us. It's absolutely been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Listeners, I hope you enjoyed today's show as much as I did, and please remember this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. Talk with you soon.
Wait, don't stop listening yet. If you like the podcast and if there's other ways we can help you, please join us in the Smarter Science of Slim support group, which is freely available at the Smarter Science of Slim website, smarterscienceofslim.com. There you'll find all kinds of free recipes and success stories and just all kinds of fun stuff, like how to help your kids go sane and just great community content.
And just one last thing before you go, if you wouldn't mind heading over to iTunes and up onto Amazon.com and leaving us a review, and then going over to Facebook and liking us, we would hugely appreciate it.